Holy Wednesday, Batman. Today is Wednesday, and everybody knows what that means. That means the inner journey.
Excuse me.
Rob Morales, RCO Network, here live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever you're watching us from. We're here live on a Wednesday talking about emotions, the journey of us all. Please welcome my co-host, the fabulous, the wonderfully delicious Miss Mary Benelstein.
They call me ruthless, toothless.
I thought we weren't even going to mention that today.
We're not.
So every Wednesday we, that's not you yet. So every Wednesday we come at you live here on Facebook at RCO Network, talking about emotions, the journey that we're all on in this life, to really talk about sometimes business. Really, this whole life thing is connected to everything that we do, love, passions, and that goes back to business. So
Yes, it does.
And today's really special today. I'm really excited, Miss Mary. Why?
Very excited because we have a special guest.
We have a special guest
today.
Yes.
Yes.
And may I, or would you? Would you like to?
You go ahead.
Okay. May I welcome Mr. Ramsey Bergeron.
Hi.
There he is.
Wow. Applause and everything. More like you up here.
Yeah,
They like you.
The audience is excited to hear you, see you. You're here with us live. It is so nice to have you here, Ramsey. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and why who you are?
Sure. My name is Ramsey Bergeron. I'm a transformational leadership coach, motivational speaker. Live here in the Valley, and I like to help people. I'm sure we'll get in a little bit more deeper than that, but it's always challenging because I have a long life in a short amount of time and so many different tangents I could go on. So I'll just be here in this moment, and then you can ask me about the past, and I'll be happy to share with you.
Yeah, so I want to thank Ramsey. He's going to be our main speaker at next week's event. So if I may, I'm going to put that up there right now. If you haven't bought your tickets quite yet, come and see us live here on the Dreaming Bigger event next Thursday at 5:30. Meet Ramsey, come and network, business network, meet people in entrepreneurs, small businesses, and connect. Because that's what we specialize in. We specialize in the relationship. So that'll be next week. The link is also in the bottom section, top section, wherever you're watching from. It should be somewhere in there if you want to buy tickets or get more information. But today's topic is really addressing purpose. Mary, who are you? What are you doing here?
What are you doing here, Mr. Robert?
Oh, maybe we should ask Ramsey. What are you doing here, Ramsey?
The Zen flip side of that I would ask my clients, who is the I asking?
Who am I? Who am I asking? Maybe I'm somebody that really doesn't know myself, and I need to find who I am through somebody else.
Okay. Are you asking? So it's such a deep question. Whenever we dial into who we are, and that's one of the things I teach a class on radical acceptance and helping people figure out what are we really in control of and who are we? So many of us identify with our thoughts and our feelings, and I help people realize, well, you're not your thoughts and you're not your feelings. Because I know in the past I used to have a huge anger problem for a lot of my life, and instead of thinking I'm angry, it's like, well, no, I'm Ramsey. I might be feeling anger, and that's the first step in regarding to, finding who I am, is realizing what I am not, and I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my actions, I am my actions. That's really all I am, and then just kind of stripping things back from there.
Yeah, and I think we're at a time, an inflection point in our society, our culture, especially after the whole viral thing in the last couple of years that we've been going through, is really questioning who we are as people, what we're doing in life. I think a lot of people were going to work, spending an hour in a car to get to a place they didn't even like being at, but they needed the paycheck, so they just ended up going there every day, and then they spent an hour back begrudgingly, coming to a life where probably things aren't necessarily the best at home because they're so focused on other things. I mean, we're coming at an inflection point where we've been able to think about that. We've been spending more time at home with family and finding what's more important, but still, I think we come across the question of like, well, who are we? What are we here to do if we're not here to work 24/7?
Yeah. I really feel like this whole lockdown thing and the little bit of isolation that we got and the quiet time we got away really had a lot of us thinking, like, what is our purpose, and why are we doing what we're doing? And I noticed a lot of people have chosen not to go back into the fields or into the work that they're going, that they were doing before, because they realized that's not in alignment with what their values are and what they truly want in life, because maybe they realized staying home with their family and having a home cooked meal with them every night, that maybe that wasn't, that was more important to them, and they were putting that on the back burner, and they were just kind of ignoring that calling to be with their family more. Yeah. And so that opportunity we had to really be still enough to hear our souls and our whatever you want to call it speak, right, gave us that opportunity to really go, this is what I want, this is what I truly value in life. And I was stuck in this program of go to work, get it done, do what other people think I should do just to fit in, or just to do it the way that I think that it should be done. It was a nice disconnect, but it's created a lot of labor shortage. Right?
Yeah, I can't get my cabinets done in my house whatsoever. And if somebody's out there that does cabinets and want to IM me, direct message me, I need some kitchen cabinets.
I may
done.
have someone for you.
Oh, thank you. But the funny thing, Ramsey, the thing I'm also seeing too is now that we've spent so much time at home, some of us don't want to be at home anymore. We kind of want to go out, because we're just stuck at home all day. I guess we're entrenched in real life. So, with that said, I mean, we're really trying to figure out where we're at in life. We want one thing, and then once we get it, we want something completely different. That could be dating, that could be a marriage, that could be a career. Once we have that quote unquote career, it's like, okay, well, now that's accomplished. No, what am I here to do? Right?
Well, I'm writing a book right now called Chasing the Rabbit: Why Achieving Success is Never Enough. And it's almost for that exact point. I'm an 8-time Ironman, and I was doing these races because I thought I was chasing that feeling of crossing the finish line. How's that going to be? And then if I do the race on a Sunday, probably the next Tuesday, I would feel empty again. Like, all right, well, what now? And that's really one of the things that led me to have a lot of suffering earlier on in life, is realizing that I was always chasing something to be happy, and not realizing that, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. Yeah. And we live a lot of our lives doing that, chasing the thing that we think we're gonna need. And to kind of the point earlier talking about, like, well, we were spending time with family, and we're just going to work and kind of being just kind of going through the motions. That's habit energy. And there's a saying in Eastern philosophy, as I talk with my clients about a guy on a horse that's riding as fast as he can, and someone says, well, where are you going? And the guy says, I don't know, ask the horse. And so many of us live our lives that way, where we're just on autopilot. We're not consciously making decisions of what we're doing. We're just on this habit energy. And if I were to ask you, like, hey, describe your drive to work today, like, I don't know. I'm lucky I got here and didn't run over 7 kids on the way, because we're not concentrating on that moment. And I think that this is, and think about what we just talked about. You're talking about how we wanted to leave work, and now we're at home all the time. And then when now we're stuck at home all the time, what do? We're never content. We're always trying to find, well, now that I've done this for a while, I'm bored. And it's the overstimulation of ourselves that we can't just be still. I keep everyone up here. I like seeing people because I feel like I'm not alone if I can't see them. I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat last year, where it's 10 days of no speaking, no reading, no writing, no eye contact, no exercise, no music. Yeah, Vipassana meditation, and really helped me realize who I am and what do I have control over, and what does bring me peace.
Yeah, and I think again we're at an inflection point where it's like I need to figure out who I am and be more sustainable than just chasing after one side of the window versus the other. The grass, again, the cliche is the grass is always greener on the other side. But what if we're constantly always facing that? What if the grass is always greener on every other side, and it's like I don't know where to go. I don't have a location, and I think so much of us, and either one of you can reflect. We all seek that kind of sense of tangible life. Like this makes sense if I can touch this cup. It makes sense if I can touch this keyboard. But it doesn't make sense if I'm feeling sad and I don't know where that comes from. So I'd rather ignore it and drown it out in some sort of drink, or keep myself so busy that I don't have to think about it, which means go to work, incessantly, or just avoid my wife because I'm tired of listening to all of it. stuff I get when I get home.
Yeah. Well, so what I've learned over the years of my studies is that a lot of the times when we're feeling a discontent or feeling a stress or anxiety or a depression or whatever it is, it's either because we're dwelling upon the past or we're dwelling upon the future. And the problem is, I think, with a lot of things, with a lot of the issues that are happening now, is that we're refusing to be in the present moment. Like, we're refusing to just be. We're so caught up in the doing, we're so caught up in the planning, we're so caught up in this monkey brain mind, like never ending thoughts and what we should be doing and what we should be doing. We're never really like living in this moment. We're either here in the future, here in the past. You know, it's like when we're able to bring ourselves to the present moment, then we can have that peace, we can have that stillness, we can actually enjoy life and be able to create from that moment, you know. Yeah.
The power now.
We probably have a lot to say. The New Earth. Have you read The New Earth?
I have read it. I love Eckhart Tolle and Alan Watts. And one of the quotes by Alan Watts that I love is, unless you are fully in the present moment, the future is a hoax.
We get robbed. We basically get robbed from life when we're too focused in either or.
And especially here in the Western world, we're taught in elementary school, they're preparing us for high school, to prepare us for college, to prepare us for work, to prepare us for retirement. And then we retire and we're like, well, where the hell did my life go? Because we're always in anticipation for the next moment, and we're never here in this one. Yeah. And like Robert, you're talking about the grass is always greener. Well, but we're never like. How often do I sit and look at the miracle of the grass that's here? Yeah. Whether it's dead earth or growing grass, I'm alive in this moment. And one of the things I do with my clients is an assessment I have called the Energy Leadership Index, and it shows your perceived level of freedom or choice in any situation. I was a DJ for many, many years, and I was doing a wedding at the Biltmore, and the bride went to cut the cake, but the venue didn't lock the legs of the table out all the way. So she goes to cut the cake, and this 4-tier cake falls. So the cake falls to the floor, and like 200 guests all freeze, and they stare at the bride, and then the bride starts dying laughing. And then all the guests started laughing, and then it became a very memorable thing. And I tell my clients, that cake falling on the floor is anything in your life that you weren't planning on happening. That cake falling on the floor is your divorce. That cake falling on the floor is your cancer diagnosis. All you have control over is how you respond.
Yeah, and when I reflect upon like where we're at in life, we're so much primed into believing what we believe today. You know, from a very early age, if you're 5 years old, you're going to school, you're told to sit down, shut up, turn around, and do your work. Constantly for years and years and years, and we embrace that mentality that it's a norm, that it's okay to do that, and find some sort of sense of comfort in that. Sit down, shut up, turn around, do your work. You know, and when we leave school, we go to college. Some of us, we go to college and take on that framework, and then we go on to life, take on that same framework. But you know, we don't necessarily emotionally evolve or grow up from that. So to be taught like, hey, you have a purpose outside of just sitting down, shutting up, turning around and doing your work, that's an abstract thought. From an early age until adulthood, you're told that exact same framework over and over again for years. And in order to think beyond that, it's like, oh, this is very uncomfortable, right? Especially when you turn into an adult. You're supposed to be an adult, but what the hell does that mean anyway? You know, so I just pose that as food for thought out there.
Yeah.
Well, so I've started studying Eastern philosophies a couple of years ago, and my best friend passed away right after COVID started. And I want to preface this where I'm not trying to convert anyone to Buddhism. Even the Dalai Lama said that don't study Buddhism to be a better Buddhist. Study Buddhism to be a better whatever you are. Because I look at Buddhism more as a philosophy than a religion. So because some people are like, well, he's talking like, I'm not trying to convert anyone here. I'm just trying to talk about philosophy. But they say that an intellectual spends their whole life trying to learn, where a Buddhist spends their whole life trying to unlearn. Because it's simply what you're talking about, Robert. Like, we've been conditioned to feel this separateness, this isolation of these labels that have been put on me that identify me. Yep. And only by removing those do I find freedom and figure out who I am, and not what necessarily my parents wanted me to be. Well, what do I want to be? What lights my soul on fire? Not, is my mom going to be happy if I go be an accountant? You know, those kind of questions.
Yeah, and I think, you know, finding purpose, and Mary and I, we were all talking about it before we got on, is really finding value. But I think sometimes it takes these significant events. We've all had them, you know, somebody passing away, you know, mine was a divorce and a career. So if you ever read like Emil Durkheim, you know, a sociologist, there are significant events that cause you to really inflect, and sometimes that's in a negative sense. Sometimes it could be in a very positive sense, but there are significant events in our life that really force us to really reflect. But then as we reflect, what do we do about it? What transition, what can we do? I mean, and this is for both you guys. What can we do to be better people and to find that sense of purpose outside of sitting down, shutting up, and doing our work?
Mary, I'll let you kick off.
Was that too big of a category?
No, we were trying to. We're usually two, and now we're three. Yeah. So we're being
being nice,
each other,
Ramsey,
right?
Yeah.
Right. So, what was the question? No, I would say
finding value.
What I was thinking about as you were speaking was, going along with all these things we're taught as we're little growing up, and then, I don't know, but every single person that I've talked to along the way, once I kind of started discovering this, maybe it's almost like a rebellious side of myself that's going, no, what does this mean? This little calling within me that says maybe this doesn't feel right, or maybe this isn't truly me, or I'm just going along with the herd kind of thing, And I think that sometimes it's that little voice becomes so loud that we start to explore different ways of thinking, or sometimes it takes that traumatic event or that event in our life to like pull us into this, this realization that no, like all of a sudden we get this idea that maybe this isn't the way, or there's something more than this, And I was just sitting here thinking to myself, like, what was it? I always had a very rebellious side, like, a little bit of my past.
I know about her rebellious
and so I was always questioning and, going, this is like, we're not gonna take it. Like, this like pull to where I knew I had to conform. And yet I always had this something within me going, this doesn't feel right within my soul, But then it really did take tragic events for me to actually start exploring and learning, because you always kind of have this curiosity about what is this about, and then you could sometimes take it to the rebellious side where you're doing a lot of damaging things to yourself, or you can have a tragic event where maybe you go study in Eastern religion, you become very peaceful, and you start discovering these things, and there's so many routes to get to it. I think we all have this burning desire and this burning question within ourselves, is like, there's more to this. And that's, I think, I kind of, my own personal opinion is that's like our soul kind of speaking to call us forward into a learning about what's really going on here.
And that's very interesting that you bring it up, because in your bio, when I was reading, Ramsey, you had that kind of inflection point too. It's something that spoke to your soul. You did 8 Ironmans. I don't know what the proper vernacular.
Ironman competitions.
I would assume Ironman, but it's a sing. I don't know.
8 Ironman triathlons.
So 8 Ironman events.
And when we talked, you just got bored with it, right?
Well, it wasn't that I got bored with it. I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. I was using it for validation, because I felt like if I do this, I matter. And it comes from a childhood, riddled with insecurity and not feeling like I was visible. Yeah. And so by doing this, and people are like, oh my God, you did an Ironman? Like, wow, people thought a lot of me. And I was over in Ireland getting ready to do one in 2019, and the water was 50 degrees. It was storming like crazy. And I said, and that's when I on my website, and the title of my podcast is Break Your Ego, Find Your Soul. I broke my ego. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm doing this for all the wrong reasons. I'm doing this because I think other people want me to do it. I don't want this. And I didn't even start the race. And I went and I drank a Guinness, and I felt at peace with that. And I was tired of living the lie. And there's a book called Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. And one of the things he talks about in there is, I am not who I think I am. I am not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. And so many of us wear the mask of who we think the world wants us to be, that we're not even living our own life. And for me, it finally took that point of, I'm tired of this. I'm done. And that really started my journey. And I shared that on social media just to be honest with the world. And the amount of people that responded back saying, you know what? I thank you for sharing that. I feel the same way. And that made a difference for me, because you never know who you can help inspire by sharing your vulnerability in your journey. And there have been a lot of people who have been instrumental by allowing me the space to share that. And I think something to reflect on what Mary was saying, in order to get congruent with that, I had to learn to slow down. And like meditation for me has really been instrumental in slowing the monkey mind down to figure out what does resonate with me. Because if I'm on autopilot, just going through life, I'm not creating enough space to find out what aligns with my energy.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And we had a question from the audience. What kind of questions can you ask yourself to open yourself up to self-discovery? Do you want to take that, Ramsey? What kind of questions can you ask yourself to open up to self-discovery?
So one of the big things is judgment. And whenever whenever I do this assessment with people, there's essentially 7 different ways you can look at any situation. And so facts don't create strong emotion. Judgment of facts creates strong emotion. So if I'm looking at a situation, well, what's the fact? What's factual, and what are the judgments? Because if you start looking at what you're judging, then you can really figure out what your lens is. You're looking at the world. So I was working with a client who he works in the power industry, and he works outside, and he loves to hunt. And so I said, well, when it's raining, when you're hunting, does it bother you? He was like, no, it's just rain. I'm like, what about when you're at work? Oh, it's the worst. I'm like, either way, it's just rain. Like, so what are we judging things? And when we realize we're judging things as good or bad that have no inherent, essence of good or bad, they simply are, then it gives me freedom to figure out, okay, well, what lights me on fire if I'm not avoiding certain things that I think are bad? It allows us to gain clarity over reality. And I think that's an important step to find out. So asking yourself, what are you judging versus what are you just observing?
Yeah, and I think I will infer, and we'll kind of start that piece where we talk about some of the tangible things that we can do, some of the advice or takeaways that we can do. One of the things that, I've discovered in this whole journey of my own personal discovery is, at the end of the day, you have to make a decision. So much of us, between relationships, between careers, we're so indecisive because, again, we're in that culture of being told where we should be, how we should be, and even what time we should be there. And it's so comfortable that it's hard for us to make that decision ourselves, and making that decision is probably the toughest thing I think we face as a species, as a person, like actually taking ownership of that decision. There's so much that, I will reflect on a past relationship that I had. There was a girl I was dating, and it was really hard to break up with her because there were so many things that reminded me of my past. But I knew for my future that that's not where I wanted to be. And so I remember sitting there in the car and being very emotional about the breakup, and telling her, I don't want this. And it's like, it's hard to explain that to somebody when you're so emotionally in the moment. But I had to make the decision because my future really leaned upon that. I had to think about my career and how that person reflected upon my life and what I wanted to do. And I felt that person would, if I continued that relationship, would hold me back. Only because they weren't on that path with me, and that was a really tough decision to make. So I think for most people out there, making a decision in your career with the person in your life, the trajectory, your passion is one of the toughest decisions you're going to make because you're always going to question yourself. And, once you make that decision, you'll start kind of taking the actions on to fulfill that decision, and things will start manifesting on their own. You don't have to worry about it. But so much of us are caught up in the worry. So that's my tangible takeaway, is that man up and make the decision and do not waver back from that decision, because we will sometimes regret it. Sometimes we will question it. Sometimes we'll be scared of it. But whatever that decision is, push forward and do what you can to manifest it. That's my takeaway. That's my 2 cents. Who's up?
So,
Mary,
you want to do next?
You looked like you said you were going to say something, so...
If we're looking at tangibles, the 2 things that I tell people is: are you focused on the lesson or are you focused on the loss? If you look at the Bills-Chiefs game where Josh Allen had the perfect game, but he still lost. And if he's focusing on, I lost the game, what's the lesson? We're not looking at how many players are going to want to play with him next year. Yeah. How many teams are going to want him? So with anything in life, are you focused on the short term, or the outcome of that thing, or the mastery of what are you learning? Adam Grant wrote a book called Think Again, which I recommend reading. But he said the happiest he ever is after he's made a mistake, because now's the smartest he's ever been, because he's learned something. And one of the things I tell my clients, so this ties back to the earlier question of what's one thing you could do, or one thing to ask themselves, I would say, how would you feel if you knew you cannot make a mistake? Because the reality is, if we believe, and I truly believe, the universe is unfolding exactly as it should, everything that's happening to you is preparing you for something. And if you're in that moment and you know that I'm learning from this, and like what am I learning, then you're free, because you're not second guessing yourself and shaming yourself for a decision. All right, it didn't go the way I thought it would, but what am I learning? Like, I can't make a mistake. I'm learning from this. So that's my tangent.
Well, I can't really back that up, other than like I would have said something very, 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 very similar. So I'm just gonna say ditto.
Oh, that's the easy way out.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And yet we seem to study
Thanks,
the same
Patrick
things. We seem to study the same things. So I think that it really is about deciding, like, it's all about your perspective. Like, how do you choose to perceive an event, or how do you choose to perceive a situation that's happened? Do you choose to be victim to it, like you and I always talk about, or do you choose to go, this happened and it's just an event, and what am I here to learn from it? You know, it's really about, it's not what happened, it's how you react to it, you know?
Yeah, and I would think, just to add to that, and as we're wrapping up today's show, it's been 25 minutes already.
Oh, wow.
And I know, it goes by
that
quick.
always happens.
Stop being so damn hard on yourself.
Stop, yeah.
Especially like, if you're wearing the wrong color shirt, if you're missing a tooth, stop being so damn hard on yourself. And you know what? Nobody cares as much as you do. I think that's one of the takeaways, especially from today. I don't know why.
You know what?
I don't know why that would come up today. But
I always say, stop taking yourself damn serious. So here,
Well,
I'm missing a tooth.
And on that token, I always tell my clients, I finish up almost all my sessions with, instead of self-improvement, focus on self-compassion.
Yes.
Because when I was younger, I used to read every Tony Robbins book, trying to be a better guy.
Yeah.
But I hated myself if I didn't achieve perfection, because I had this idea that I had to be the best.
Yeah.
And when I inevitably would fall short, I would beat myself and shame myself. So instead of self-improvement, focus on self-compassion. Really be okay with who you are. That is the foundation for freedom.
We are our own worst enemies sometimes.
Yeah, and I say also, like, I did the same thing with Tony Robbins. How funny. But I would say celebrate every little win that you have. If you accomplished one thing today, celebrate it. Like, pat yourself on the back. When there's a 2-year-old that just learned to walk and they're falling down 10 times, we say, good, you did such a good, you went poop on the potty. Like, why aren't we celebrating ourselves as adults in that way? Celebrate everything that we do, and that just helps us to go forward further and further and further.
Yeah, if you would have seen what I ate last night, you would not. You would not be celebrating anything today.
Well, we don't celebrate each other's little small wins.
True.
Because so many times we feel like we're in competition with everyone. And that's why I love the CEO Network, is it's like, well, why can't we just celebrate everyone's small wins? Like why do we, it's not me versus you, we're all one, whenever you break it down. So celebrate each other. And that's such a attitude of gratitude and just generosity. And it really, really just comes back in dividends.
And that's so awesome. So I'm going to wrap up today's show. We're coming to the end. We got about 2.5 minutes. It goes by so quickly. I don't know where the time goes, but we get so caught up in the conversation. So if you want to follow Ramsey here, go ahead and follow him on his website. I'm going to post that now. Here at bergeronwellbeing.com. If you want to go there, you can sign on. You learn a little bit more about Ramsey, about the stuff he does. He does public speaking certified coach. He does adventure retreats. Sometimes you go to Hawaii, correct?
Well, I'm going to be hosting a 7-day leadership workshop there this summer, but I'm actually taking people hiking around Mount Blanc in July. So a 12-day, just get out of nature and see what life is about, a catered, hosted hike. But once a year, I do a retreat out of nature, but I might be doing regular ones in Hawaii coming up on the Big Island.
So go ahead and go to bergeronwellbeing.com for that information. Also follow him on Facebook here at, Janet's texting me.
Hi, Janet.
Go to Bergeron Wellbeing, same thing, at Bergeron. You can also go to Instagram too, but he's here predominantly on Facebook. So follow Ramsey, whatever you need to, and wherever you want to go. But, however, you will be here live next week, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So, next Thursday. Excited to come down there and just chat and share a little bit about my journey and what that looks like, and meet some other people who are like-minded about growth and starting their business.
If you want to go to Eventbrite, the link is also in the description, either in the top, bottom, wherever it is that the description's at. That's where the link is, and you can log in there, purchase your ticket, come visit us, enjoy some food, music, entertainment. We also have group activities. We have an agenda planning session today, which I'm excited about. We're going to be bringing everybody together and making the best event that we can, just for you, for being an entrepreneur or a small business. Mm-hmm. So I want to thank Mr. Bergeron. Hello, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What did we learn today, Mary?
Oh, Lord.
Oh, heavens.
We learned
that is the common question.
so much.
Maybe we should ask Ramsey. What did we learn today, Ramsey?
There you go. It's your turn this time.
What have I learned? Well, I've learned that there's more people out there who value growth than that I knew before. Sometimes I think whenever we are focused on growth, I used to feel very isolated and no one would understand. No one else would have that focus. And it's nice to know other people see the value in it and find the connection as well. And some helpful tools from Robert and both of you guys, actually.
Yeah, there's so much to learn out there. And I'm so thankful that we have people out there who are on the same mind frame, wavelength. I want to thank you, Miss Mary, for joining us today, as well as Mr. Bergeron.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will catch you guys every Wednesday here at The Inner Journey, bringing information about connecting with your emotions and everything else. So that's my cue music. That's right. The Inner Journey. Here with Mary Van Elsten.
It's time to dance with no tube.
Oh, God. We're bringing that up again. So I want to thank all of you guys here. Follow us, RCO Network. See you next week at our event and next Wednesday. Adios. Until then.